should be lots of weird swallowing noises.
I think you guys are going to enjoy this one because it's going to get pretty weird. All right. Today's podcast, we're going to talk about perspective. And we're going to just kind of let that go wherever it takes us. And how this got started is yesterday we were sitting out there in between taking a break of hunting and going hunting again. And we were talking about season being over.
What's perspective?
We were talking about season being over and just how that's sad. And this year I have a different outlook on it than I've had in the past because Bruce said something like, I don't know how to feel about it. Right?
Yeah, about it being over with. I mean, happened quick.
Yeah, it happens quick and it's sad, I guess, usually. It's sad. But my perspective and how it's different this year is I'm just happy that I went some.
Mm-hmm.
And it is sad that it's over still. Like I had that same feeling last night when you said, Jake, well, I guess season really is over. I had a moment of like, whoa, it really is. Just the same as I do every year. And you have that moment where, I don't know.
You realize you're not going to get to go anymore?
Yeah. But I feel like this year, it was different for me because, again, I'm just happy that I got the chance to go some, where it was a lot different than normal years. And I think that moving forward, it's just going to make me appreciate the fact that, yeah, I did go. Just be happy you went. Don't be sad that it's over. Just be happy that you went because you could just as easily have something happen where you can't go. And Nick brought up his experience with that too.
I was telling you how 4 years in the Marine Corps, I only turkey hunted, I think, 5 days in 4 years, which is horrible to even think about. But you were saying how, you missed most of the season, damn near the entire thing. And you were saying how, it just felt good just to go. You appreciated just being able to have the opportunity, and I was able to reason with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is a good feeling. Whenever you don't have it because it's taken away, you can't go. When you do get that one chance to go, it makes it all that much better.
Mm-hmm. It also makes you realize what you like about it too.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes it's easy to get caught up in that moment of, oh, we didn't get the turkey for whatever reason. You miss one, or you make the wrong move and you spook him, and you get bent out of shape. I know I do. I know there's times, and I'm sure we all do to a certain degree, where you kick yourself for that. But then when you have that time where you miss a lot of the season, again, it makes you think, well, at least you got to play the game. At least you were in the game. Where no matter what it is, whether it's an injury or just life changes like kid or job change, like there's tons of other people that are dealing with, a different perspective every year too. So I just think that that's something that, is just worth noting.
I think it's funny because you always have, I think everybody in here turkey hunts or gets to turkey hunt more than the average person. But I think we all have an idea of how things are going to go before season. And I guess I'm just looking around the room and I know things didn't go exactly how you expected them to, or you. And just what kind of curveballs did you have along the way, I guess, where it's like, I guess the plan was to do one thing.
Yeah.
And then everything got a wrench thrown in it, I guess.
I'd say so. I filmed Mike a lot during the spring because I'd rather
From Woodhaven.
From Woodhaven, yeah.
Yeah, don't know.
And then I try to take off like a week or two every month to like allot time to go hunting. But then it seemed like this season, that week that I had off, I was either traveling or editing the whole time. So I got to hunt one morning at home by myself in third season. And then, like, talking about perspective, I got up here thinking like I was going to be really like eager and like pissy if I didn't get one.
Mm-hmm.
But then it was like, the more I was around Crystal and Whitney, it was like, it'd be cool just to see them get one because they really don't get to do this much. And I kind of wanted to see them freak out a little bit when they got one. So, I don't know. It definitely curveballs, but like you said, you got an idea and then it just changes. But it still is like fun looking back on it, even though it was different.
Yeah, I mean, so many things can affect even when you do get to go. Like, obviously, the situation you just said, but weather's another one. Like, here's a curveball. You guys were, like, for sure locked in going to Michigan, but then you guys are looking at the weather, and it's like, wow, to go at least for the days that you were going. You may still go, Jake, I guess, a little bit, but to go for the first 5 days that you hit plan, it's kind of like, I don't know that that's really going to be worth the time. Not to say that you don't want to go, and not to say that if you only have that amount of time to go in a season, for example, you wouldn't go. It's just, there's other things that
Yeah.
could be done, I suppose.
Yeah, I
What-
could go be more productive in that 5-day span instead of just, because then we would just be pretty much hunting for the mornings right off the roost, and then the rest of the day, Bruce, like you were saying, you kind of just hanging out till you're going and roosting them that night. So I could definitely be more productive in the 5 days I had allotted. I was going to be able to hunt in Michigan. So that's just
There's enough stuff I've been pushing off
to
get done.
mowing the yard, picking up scouts' poop piles in the yard.
So I think I'll probably just try to do those things in the next 5 days, and then when the weather's supposed to cool down, hopefully I'll be able to go back up there, and that's probably when the hunting will be best, I would think, just based off the weather. But like
Yeah.
I mean, that first hour or two in the morning, especially if you're tight to something, it's going to be down in the 60s, so they'll be doing turkey stuff. It seems like until it gets real hot out. That's just kind of the late season game. It seems like when the weather gets warm like this, is just using the cool times of the day.
Mhm.
And when it gets in the 90s, there isn't much window to work with. It doesn't seem like.
Yeah, and the same thing really does go for deer as well. I mean,
Yep.
we dealt with the same thing. in
Early
North
season deer
Dakota.
hunting, yeah. Seems
Like-
like.
Kind of get that little window at first light and last light, and otherwise it's pretty stale.
Yeah.
But the one other thing I think that I've thought a ton about this year, and specifically on this trip, and I've mentioned that hunt that we had yesterday quite a bit. The knee injury is definitely limiting, and it's made me look at things from a more patient perspective for sure, where I'm always forward thinking in turkey hunting for the most part. I'm trying to get better even when I don't have any injury, to just take a step back and think, even when things feel like they're getting hectic, is moving forward the right choice? But since this has happened, I'm almost thinking always go back, pull back. How do I play something a little bit slower and safer versus going forward, which is totally the opposite of what I normally think. So that has been fun, just to have that thought. Or how can I be more effective from the road? I think little things like that have also helped me in the times that I have got the chance to go, help me big picture for the future too. Because while I don't always love riding around in the vehicle all day, when that's what I'm more limited to, you start to pick up on little details that you might pay more attention to. Like, for example, if I was going to drive around and try to strike a bird from the road, one thing that I feel much more likely to do, and you kind of brought this up, Bruce, at one point yesterday, get to a spot, let the woods calm down a little bit, let that gravel popping kind of be a memory, and then hit that call. Where if you're kind of running and gunning and moving fast, and again, you don't have something like this holding you back, you may be just trying to cover ground. Well, it's like if I got all day, let's say, because there was a couple weekends that I did hunt back in Colorado, and I would be alone. If that was the case, and I was alone, it's like, well, I got no agenda. It's just my own time. So I felt much more likely to sit, at the truck, listen a little bit, give it 10, 15, 20 minutes, stretch a little bit, whatever, then hit that call. And I think sometimes that does make a big difference when you're rolling around, because if you're just rolling around, jumping out, hitting a call, giving it 2.5 minutes, and then hitting the road again, there's a lot of times where I'm sure we've all had these experiences where we hit a call, 10 minutes goes by sometimes, and then he gobbles. And I think, again, just looking at patience from so many more angles has really been fun for me, honestly. I am just so, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, if I can crawl to that turkey right now, like, why would we even consider setting up? Let's just get right to him. But it's, I don't know, this is different for me.
One example that from this trip is the bird that Nick killed the other day, where me and Bruce and Nick were just riding around, and they had already killed one that morning, so we were just it was a very relaxed hunting setting. And we just pulled up to a spot where Bruce and these guys had all been on turkeys a bunch throughout the whole week, and just jumped out, and we were just sitting there talking back and forth, listening for turkeys, and Bruce was hitting a call every once in a while, and then like 20 minutes goes by or something, and all of a sudden this hen fires up, and Bruce literally called her right to the truck. And then probably 10 minutes after that, we were just sitting around talking, and then a bird gobbled, and he was on the private, but we just slowly started working towards him, and that one took like 2 hours before he eventually came in. But I mean, instead of just rushing around all the time trying to get on something or just bulldozing through the woods, we were just sitting at the truck listening for a good 30 or 40 minutes probably before we heard that turkey that Nick ended up killing.
Yeah.
Fire off.
You were saying you guys were doing that in what, Kentucky? Wherever you ended up camping at, you must have just been in the right spot, and you could just go after a turkey. If it worked, it worked, and then if it didn't, it didn't. Then you just go sit at camp. Another one would start gobbling, and you go after that one.
We just stumbled into the pocket of birds that were hot that week, and I mean it was pretty heavy hunting pressure in certain areas, but it seemed like that specific spot, people were just driving right by it, and we had camp set up there, and like you said, I mean we'd strike one and go after him, and if it worked, it worked, which more often than not, it really didn't work. It's kind of surprising how many turkeys we got on that we didn't really even come close to killing. I mean, they would gobble really, really well, but it seemed like they just had other things, other places to be. And we'd go back to camp, sit down, make a sandwich, and while we're sitting there eating, I mean, a bird would gobble somewhere else, and we'd take off. I mean, for a week straight, I hunted Kentucky, and I heard turkeys gobble all day, every day, and I have not heard it like that. Just that 1 week was just a magical week, and I've been back through those areas and listened, and other people I know have hunted areas close by, and
Wasn't like that.
just wasn't like that. Which we had the prime weather, we had everything that we really needed. I mean, it was, if you were going to go spend a week somewhere, that was a good week to spend. But it just goes to show, I mean, sometimes just being patient and slowing it down. I've struck a lot of turkeys like that, just kind of slow rolling it, and it helps too if you know there's birds in the area. Like it's easy to say, oh, you should be more patient, but to somebody that's on the road traveling, really trying to make it happen,
Yeah.
I for one am that guy that's it's hard to make me sit down and be patient when I'm trying to kind of, I'm not going to say blow through ground, but when I'm trying to cover ground and see what looks good, what doesn't, where am I seeing turkeys, where am I not.
And if you know the weather's right and the turkey's gobbling somewhere, it's hard to want to sit there.
I'm kind of thinking keep going till I find him. That's right, because there's one gobbling somewhere. But in the scenario like where you killed the bird the other day, we just knew that turkeys were hanging around there. And
that was a hot day, and it's
Yep.
like, well, this one's still gobbling, and
Yep.
you might not find that anywhere else,
No.
so it's worth hanging with them.
no, and it wasn't like it was 5 in the morning either. This was happening, and I think the
1
bird
o'clock,
finally
wasn't it?
gobbled at like 12 or 12:15,
Yeah.
and you didn't kill him till 2.
Yep.
I mean, it was, and he gobbled the entire time. So I don't know where else we could have gone and gotten anywhere near that kind of experience. But my guess is it would have been pretty hard to find another one that hot at that time.
One other example that I feel like I keep bringing this story up. I don't know why I'm thinking about this one so much, but it's the Mississippi hunt that you and I had back in 2018, maybe, when the bird came in behind us up on that high point. And that's kind of an in between the two examples you just said, where it's like you are wanting to find turkeys. We hadn't really found that many turkeys,
No.
but we also played it patient, and it kind of worked out, except for we let the 100 doubt set in, and we kind of messed it up, or totally messed it up.
We
But-
convinced ourselves it was a squirrel coming in straight behind us and didn't get turned around in time.
But in that situation, I guess what led us to put the patience in was we had snuck our way through there. Didn't look like that many people were hunting in there. Found fresh turkey tracks and maybe even fresh tom tracks.
Yep.
So it's like we knew he was in there. Had still not heard a gobble in this block, but we went up to the highest point. It was like 1 o'clock maybe. Hit a cow. About 10 minutes later, squirrel come up behind us. Turned out he'd been transformed into a tom on the way up. but that's kind of that in between though. Knowing that there's turkeys is like we, along those lines, we kind of did, but the sign made us convinced that there were. But we also just said, hey, once we hit that, let's just chill out. And it pretty much worked, and we ended up, I think the next day even seeing probably that same turkey or, in that area. But I guess one thing that I wanted to ask you guys before we get too far down the rabbit hole, too, is what are some other things that, when you think of that perspective conversation, what are things that you value now that you didn't when you were younger? Because, like, I know even as of a few years ago, and I think this changes season to season, the 2020 season, I felt like I wanted to just prove something to myself. Like I had kind of got fed up with the "Are you on him?" conversation between hunter and cameraman, and I was like hunting with Keith a lot, and I pretty much told him like, I don't care about the video. Let's just get these turkeys, and that's something that I wanted to do. But but now, as of now, I would say that's changed. I just wanted to do that for a season, and this season it's more about being with my friends and enjoying what time I do get. So, are there other things that come to your guys' mind that have changed, like as far as that goes?
Yeah, I mean, over the years, especially the more time that I've started spending in other places and just seeing how tough or how easy some places have been to go and find birds and then end up killing one. And you think back on it, or I think back on it when I was younger, and I always was pretty lucky to have good turkey populations anywhere I hunted growing up, and it really wasn't that hard to go find a turkey, but once you get out and about in places you're unfamiliar with, it kind of makes you appreciate when you do find turkeys, and when you're able to find them in a good mood, they want to listen to what you have to say, and they're acting like you want them to act, and you get them called in, and you've just spent all this time and invested all this effort into going to this place to do it. It's pretty special because you will hit some dry spells, and they really, really make you appreciate the good times as far as just being in gobbling turkeys. I hit some dry spells this year, for example, that were just, I mean, I haven't had dry spells like this in several years. Just not necessarily bad luck. Like, I wouldn't call it bad luck. Man, I'm still getting to hunt. I was getting to hunt for the most part. Spent a lot of time driving overnight in places too. I mean, when I was out west, I took such a big western swing that it equaled a lot of overnight drives. And some days I just didn't hunt because I had too far to drive. And I don't really know if I was too crazy about doing that. I don't think I'll ever do a swing that big again, just nothing but the west, because it really took a lot of hunting time out of there, and I'm not okay with that.
Yeah.
I actually probably missed.
What was the state that you tried to drive? You were telling, I was over here and you told the story the other day. You basically drove there and didn't make it on time, or you drove there and camped and didn't wake up on time or something like that?
Oh, yeah. Utah. Found turkey. Should have killed a turkey the first day I was there, man. I had them all over me, and had a buddy that flew into the Denver airport, so I was expecting to be moving that away. We were going to go hunt Wyoming, and I was expecting to be done in Utah and all that and be moving toward Denver when I told him to fly in. Well, I didn't make it happen, and so since I had found the turkeys and I was on them, when I went and picked my buddy up, I said, well, change of plans. We're not going north. We're going west, and we're going all the way back to Utah. So 7 hours to pick him up. Got there. He was already on the ground, hopped in the truck. We turned around, drove 7 hours back to where I was on turkeys in Utah, and didn't wake up the next morning. I was just so, I mean, yeah, that knocked some wind from my sails right there, because it was one of those deals. I'd been hunting these turkeys, and they were not really acting that good long after fly down. They were flying down and shutting up. Now, they'd gobble really good on the limb, but they were getting quiet. And there was a bunch of turkeys, but they were just not gobbling during the daytime. And I was sitting out there with them most of the day and listening, and you'd hear a gobble every once in a while, but it wasn't like you were just walking around striking turkey. Yeah, no, not at all. So I knew it had to be an early morning thing, and I really didn't even have the time to go back to Utah when I did. But I went back for that one day and then didn't wake up. And I was pretty aggravated that morning. I packed up all my stuff and we hit the road, and I just said I can drive my sorry ass back out to Utah, I reckon. I mean, if I don't want to wake up for it, then I was not happy. But we made it to Wyoming, and Walt. So y'all met Walt.
Yep.
Yeah, he made it count the first afternoon there. It was good. Nice to see a turkey just gobble his head off and come in.
So you're saying that your phone alarm was going off and you didn't hear it?
I mean, I don't know how it could do that. Thing's pretty obnoxious.
I don't know either. It really surprises me.
These guys have all been staying right up above where we're at right now. And Nick does. You have something specific that you say?
Yeah, so Bruce's alarm starts going off every morning at the same time.
What does
mine
it sound
does.
like, Ted?
Sounds like a semi truck coming through the freaking loft up there, just laying on the horn. It's like
Wah, wah, wah.
So Bruce,
cranked.
most mornings he doesn't wake up to it right off the bat. And in his defense, a little bit of defense, the outlet where he charges is right by my bed, so it's right there by me.
So it works out pretty nice for you.
Yeah, it works out great for me. I'm awake. I'm fully awake. So what I do is I take the phone off the charger, I'll snooze it, and I throw it onto his bed. And then it'll start going off again, and he'll just not be responding to it at all. And I'll just say, Bruce, you will get that? And he just snaps up out of his sleep, and he's like, oh, yeah, I get it. And then he's right back to sleep. Then, like the other day, he did it, and when he fell back asleep, he put it under him, so then it's muffled.
Uh-huh.
And so he's not hearing it. Yeah, it's just like, you know.
The morning before Bruce showed up, I got a nice little wake up call. Jake opened the door, let Scout in. Scout come up. She was running all over my bed, whatever. I woke up rather pleasantly. And then the next morning, Bruce was here, and I wake up to wah, wah, wah. And I was like, oh, scared the piss out of me.
And I've got to say it. I mean, y'all were probably ready to throw my phone out the window because for me to wake up, especially this late in the year, I'm tired and it's not late wake ups. I mean, we're talking like 3 a.m. So I'll set an alarm for 3, 3:01, 3:02, 3:03, 3:04, 3:05. And if I'm having trouble waking up, we'll just keep on going up the list. We'll go. I've had 10 alarms set before. I mean, you gotta eventually it'll bring me up out of the sleep because I'm gonna snooze them for 20 or 30 minutes. I promise you. But eventually I'll wake up and shake out of it and come to.
It's pretty funny up there because there's 5 or 6 of us up there, and everybody's got an alarm for the same time. And so it's just alarms going
never
off.
did.
Yeah,
I
you
just
need it.
depended on everybody else getting up, and I figured at some point I'll hear somebody doing something, or I'll hear Bruce's alarm for long enough. But it's actually quite amazing how all that stuff happened. I don't ever remember any of it. Whitney would eventually just be like, "Hey, get up," and I'd be like, "All right." I just slept right through all of it.
Yeah.
I really think a guy ought to just change the sound of his alarm when it gets to that point too, because I think what ends up happening for me is I just don't hear it anymore. I'm so used to it that I think I would have to change it to be something different.
I'm
than
the
what it
same way
has
you
been.
are.
I
He's
have
got
no-
videos of me with my phone literally laying on my ear going wah, 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 and I'm just
That was in
snoozing.
Nebraska that
Yeah.
first time, wasn't it? That's hilarious.
I have no clue how you could get used to that noise. Like, there's just no. I mean, I hate it.
It's
That's why I
comforting.
have it.
That's
That's
why you
why
do it.
it's my alarm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I hate it.
I think the sound of a turkey putting would be a pretty good one.
Oh,
Probably
yeah.
wake you up pretty quick.
Or a gobble.
I don't know how to fix this, like snoozing in your sleep thing, because I do that. I'm real bad about
Oh,
that,
yeah.
especially when I'm not waking up for hunting, when I'm waking up for something that I don't actually want to be doing,
Mm.
and I'll snooze that thing, until you've completely slipped through everything you were supposed to do.
Yeah, the only time that I have a really easy time getting up is because I just don't sleep worth a crap. I think is when I have to get up and fly early.
Mm-hmm.
I just cannot sleep, man. And
Yeah.
as soon as that alarm goes off, I'm just like, and get up because I'm so paranoid that I'm gonna miss my flight. But otherwise, yeah, even hunting anymore. I feel like it's just. I mean, it's gonna have to take a pretty excited morning for me to just hop right up out of bed, you know. Jake has an easy time when it's gun season. That's about the only time he gets up easily. But it is funny how, like, if you're just like I don't know, you have a different role other than the one with the tag. I still love hunting, and I think this is really important to note. Like, and I think this group, that's why it's so fun to hunt with everybody. It's like nobody really cares who's holding the gun or the tag or whatever. I mean, I'm pretty sure the last couple of days, like, we've hardly ever had. Like,
None of us
There were
ever-
some tags, but we hardly ever had a gun, even.
Yeah.
You know. So we were just trying to help the girls get turkeys, and it's just funny that.
And then I got one.
Yeah, but I just think it's funny how like you're in that role, and it's just like, yeah, we can get up whenever. I don't really care. But if you got the tag, sometimes it's that much easier to just be the one to hop up out and get everybody up. But I think maybe that was part of our problem is that we were all up there just like kind of letting the other people get up first.
Yeah.
let the tag holder get up and
Uh-huh.
start moving around, and then we'll follow.
Yeah, then we'll roll around. I think that's hilarious. So what else? What else as far as what you think about now and your perspective? How's anybody's perspective changed? Does anybody have anything else that comes to mind?
I actually don't know what perspective means.
Really?
What's perspective?
I think just like
I mean, I have a rough enough idea that I can give an answer,
perspective,
but like,
just being like
it should be
like for
defined.
example, my perspective.
Middle of the podcast, we should define it.
Well, when we're talking about this, I just think of perspective being. We have a unique perspective in the fact that, like you said, we all get to hunt all the time. But you think of, okay, your buddy Keegan. He went one time, maybe. You know, that perspective is significantly different. His expectation then, because of that, is going to be different. And as I get more experience, I have changing perspectives. You know, there's certain things that mattered to me at one point that don't matter now. Like, I think when I was younger, I always wanted to prove something, whether that was to myself or my peers or my friends, and now I feel like I don't care about that at all. Whether I get a turkey every single day for a week or don't get a turkey or even hear one for a week, I don't really care. I'm out there to have fun. And I feel like that's something that's changed for me, especially from the time when I was like high school, college age. I felt like it was constantly just trying to, I gotta get one. The success is what matters. And as you get older, I feel like that changes a little bit, or a
I feel
lot.
like the perspective that I run into a lot of times when we're turkey hunting throughout the season, especially early on, when we're trying to make videos and all this stuff. Like, if somebody's got a tag or if I've got a tag, it's like I'll get myself real worked up, and then like until we finally get the turkey, and then it's like, all right, I'm relaxed again. Then I look back and I'm like, man, I wish I would have just relaxed and enjoyed that a little bit more.
That's
While we're
exactly
going
what
through
I'm
the hunt.
talking about.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just like, can we just chill out? You know, it's fine. We're doing this, and that's what I keep getting back to. I haven't missed this. It's like, that's actually what's important, is the fact that you went, man.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go. That's what really sucks. Just be happy you went.
Man, that was like a total Wooderson, a turkey hunting Wooderson moment right there from Dazed and Confused. You know, when they're on the football field, and he's like, "You just got to keep living, man." It's like that was. I just saw Matthew McConaughey right there in the form of Zach talking about turkey hunting. Just be happy you win. You got to do it. That was awesome.
We should watch that before every season.
Oh, we should. Yeah.
Instead of at the end of this, we just watched it the other day, actually.
Yeah, instead of a ski trip, we'll just watch Dazed and Confused. so that way nobody gets hurt.
I've never seen that, so
You'd like it.
I could imagine. Dylan, you got anything that?
I was gonna hit on like what Ted was saying, that like I spend most of my spring with Mike, as I said.
Well, how
And-
has your perspective changed since hunting with Mike then? Because I'd imagine that has really shifted. 'Cause
Yeah,
you went
it
from
has.
hunting with, I don't know who was your turkey mentor growing up, but then you go to
Yeah.
Mike as, I would probably consider him a mentor, huh? He's probably taught
for
you a
sure.
shit
Yeah.
ton.
Well, my dad actually was the first one in our family to turkey hunt, so it's not like he's not an excellent caller by any means. You know, I just grew up having that little H&S strut with that little carbon striker. And I guess when I was pretty much up until I started with Mike, it was like any way I could kill one, like I just wanted to kill one, you know? And now it's like I've gotten really into practicing calling and getting decent at it. And I'd much rather just, especially in the hardwoods, like I find myself, where I was young, I'd want to be in the fields all the time for whatever reason, like use decoys or whatever. Now I just want to get in the woods and call one in. And I think that was a big part of too, like hunting with the girls, that I didn't really, I put a gun in my hand the last 2 days, but I just wanted to call and have fun and mess around. And of course, like he sounds like a dang turkey with any call that he's got, so it was cool to call back and forth with him. That's probably the biggest perspective change I have. And the thing with Ted is, like, Mike's a pretty intense dude at all times when you're hunting. Like, if something's going on, like, it's, and so I get in that mood too. And I'd say my mindset's kind of similar, but we'd be hunting and, like, a turkey would gobble or something, like, with you guys, and I'd turn around, people are just, like, laughing, whereas I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay, we got to do this, we got to do that. And I turn around and everyone's just, like, laughing their butt off. And, like, yeah. And it's just so funny because it's just like, And then I'd sit back. It's like, man, it's late season. Like, don't get worked out. Just chill, and whatever happens is gonna happen. You know. I don't know. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that, I mean, right here at the end, everybody, hanging out hunting, and far as like efficiency, we could have easily been splitting up into 2-man groups and going and covering a lot of ground, but all 7 of us are out here walking around, probably looking just like, I mean, no telling how many turkeys looked at us or heard us. And I mean, I'm sure if you stopped and listened to us walking through the woods, you could just listen to all 6 of the other people going, and it sounded like somebody turned cows loose in the woodlot. I mean, there's just tons of noise, but we still managed to like be on turkeys pretty much every time we went out. I mean, we were finding a turkey somewhere to play with that would gobble back, or obviously the one that you killed, he gave us a great morning. And I mean, there's just people all around shuffling around, and this turkey's never very far from
Even
us.
the night before, we had split up. We were into 2 groups just trying to roost different turkeys, and those guys went and closed in because this turkey started gobbling. So they took off. You and Dylan took off that way, and then the rest of the group was just hooting and howling and calling the other way, just still making that turkey that you were slipping in on gobble. It was pretty funny.
Having fun, man. That's what it comes back to for me. Is that was just so fun, and I think Whitney asked me last night at the end of season. She was like, "Are you disappointed?" And I was like, "Disappointed?" She's like, "Why?" She's like, "Well, I didn't get one, and tonight was pretty slow, and you guys seemed pretty excited when you left that you were going to get on something." And I was like, I'm not disappointed at all. I mean, every moment that we did this, it was extremely fun, and it's really all I wanted to get out of it was, again, that chance to be with my friends, enjoy it. And, the thing that I miss the most this season is all the other experiences I would have got. Like, for example, this is the first season since I was in high school that I haven't hunted with Ben. I never hunted with Keith. I never hunted with Colin. I didn't get to go down to, Mississippi and hunt with Thrash and his kids. Like, I missed all that stuff that I normally do. So I'm really cherishing this moment. And I think that just trying to keep that in perspective when you're going hunting, again, whether you're only able to turkey hunt one weekend or one day of the season, just go enjoy it. And I think that whether it's turkey or deer, it doesn't matter the outcome. And I think that that's something that when I was talking about proving something, it's important to keep in mind, like, nobody really cares. Nobody really cares how many turkeys you get or how much the buck you shot scored. I mean, maybe people do more than I think, but I, at the end of the day, think people maybe ask you that stuff, and they immediately forget and go back to thinking about what they enjoy about hunting. So, like, trying to prove something to anybody else, like, forget that, man. That stuff doesn't matter. Cherish that moment, because you may not have tomorrow, really. I think that kind of opened my eyes this season to that. I think moving forward, that's what I'm most excited about. Just enjoying it, man. Trying not to get too worked up about that tag. Because y'all know I do that, I certainly can get so focused on, just filling that tag, having that, well, let's close the deal so we can make a good video out of it. And it's like, man, we can make a good video out of anything that happens, because I can guarantee you, while we only, in the last couple of days got a couple of turkeys going down on film, we got plenty of awesome video of turkeys, of the whole story of this experience.
Just real situations where turkeys get away, which happens
a
lot.
When I look back on this memory, I'm not going to think, well, who killed those turkeys? I'm not at all. I'm going to think of the laughs and the times that we're hanging out, going swimming, standing at the truck, like talking about what we're going to do. Bruce telling stories when everybody's packed up, ready to go. Literally, Jake, Crystal, and Whitney are walking away from the truck, and Bruce and I are still talking, not ready at all. I mean, stuff like that. That's what I remember, I guess one other thing that I thought of, and anybody else can talk on this too, I feel like we all probably have similar experiences.
Come on in, Red.
I'm gonna lay down, Red. We all have probably similar experiences to this as well. When I first started hunting with a strutter decoy, and it was working, I thought, man, why would we ever do anything else?
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward some years, and now I think I personally don't want to hunt with those at all. And it doesn't matter one way or another to me what you want. I just think that is a perspective change too, where it's like, it's not about getting another turkey to me. It's about improving my skill set for all of hunting, improving my woodsmanship skills. Like, Jake, I know we've talked about a lot of times how much hunting turkeys without decoys has helped us become better callers for all animals, whether that's deer or elk, whatever it may be that you're calling to. It just helps you think about that a little bit more. Like, how do I manipulate this situation with just a call to make them come looking?
Yeah.
And I think that's, I mean, I know that's helped me a lot.
You know, I'd say any type of hunting really, like, especially when you get to travel or hunt in different spots or places, like, whether you're turkey hunting, if you're turkey hunting, there's things you can learn turkey hunting that's going to help you with deer hunting or whatever. Like, one thing I used to do that I got busted at a lot that I just think turkey hunting specifically helped, like, let's say I'd be walking through public land, I'd be like, getting to a spot I thought should be good, I get there, there's no sign, it's like, well, crap, and I'd pull up Onyx and just sit, like, in the wide open, just be sitting there looking at my phone trying to decide where I'm going to go now, and then you get busted, whereas, like, you know, if you call it a turkey, like, you better have a tree or something right
You might
there
as well
where you
just
can
sit
duck.
down right
And
now.
that's what, like, deer hunting, if I stop to look at Onyx or, like, something where I'm not focused, even if I'm just looking at my phone, I'm in brush or next to a tree or something. So there's always lessons that you can learn, usually the hard way. And that'll help
Sometimes you
out.
got to relearn it about every season.
We almost relearned it the other morning when you killed the turkey. I mean, we finally decided after things started drifting off that we should go pursue one of the groups of gobbling birds. So we're like, all right, well, let's go to the one that we set up on the roost because he's gone this way. We don't really know the lay of the. I don't. You may have had a better idea of it.
I'd never
but
been in there before.
You've never
either.
hunted it either, so it's not like we knew this place like the back of our hand. And little did we know there's this massive fall off on the other side, and the turkey sounded like he was getting a good ways over there. So we get up and go to walking, and all 7 of us are standing up right there, just kind of waiting on him to gobble on his own, honestly. And he didn't. And all of a sudden, a deer walks up right there, and we're sitting there looking at the deer, and the deer's looking at us, and it starts stomping. And I said, well, I better yelp because we hadn't heard the turkey in a minute.
Yeah, and he was gobbling his
And he was
butt off down
yeah,
off the
all
point
the,
of the
but it
ridge.
sounded like he was a long
He
way
went
off.
quiet for a bit, and every time that turkey went quiet, he was on the move, it seemed
Yep.
like.
And sure enough, he was moving not directly at us, but pretty close
He had
to us.
cut
And
a lot of distance
when
to
I
where he
yelped,
was almost within eyesight.
yeah, when I yelped and he answered, I don't really know how he wasn't looking at us. I mean, he was right there.
7 people scrambling
Yeah.
to find a tree. It was a good thing he probably didn't come up there either. Cause it
But
was,
very extremely unprepared, like knowing we're advancing on a gobbling turkey with 7 people, and not. I mean, in that situation, probably should have been checking him more with, I mean, a crow call, owl hoot, and something.
he would have answered it, whatever it was.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's so many lessons. There's so many lessons that you have to relearn. I think that's one of the funniest parts about hunting to me is the relearning of lessons. Because those are the ones that bite you the most. Where, like, man, I knew that. I've known better than that. And
Yeah.
I think that one thing that helps me is just being patient in that moment. Like, don't freak out. So one lesson that we had to relearn, and part of that is because we were hunting with other people and with varying experience levels from, a ton to almost none, But the one that was funny to me was the one over there by your parents, where Jake crawls up ahead, and Crystal was the gunner on this one. We look out into the field, and there's this turkey coming right at us.
Because we had just flushed a hen that was right, 20 yards in front of us, and he must not have seen her. But he knew she was there, and then all of a sudden she's gone.
And
Perfect situation for us, really.
Yeah, and Jake said, you guys got to get up there right now. Like, start crawling right now. He's coming right at us. And Crystal and I get eyes on him, and he's doing that. And I mean, the panic had just set in at that point. And I think the lesson that had been learned in the past is don't panic. But we were already starting to go down that road. And it still almost worked, and again, with varying experience levels, I think maybe this still could
I
have
started
worked
it with
out.
panic, just with however my tone of voice was, telling you guys to get up there,
Yeah.
and then it's Zach and Crystal. We're
Yeah.
working together, so they're just feeding off each other.
I believe that I was pretty dang calm throughout that whole situation. I believe. I was trying to keep Crystal from, elevating the panic.
Because she will. It's pretty funny.
So she gets eyes on him, and he's definitely just like coming across the field right towards us.
When I'm with her, she'll just be asking me questions, like sounding all panicked, and she is. And I just try to answer it with the most monotone, like slow, mumbly voice that I can. Like, it's all right. It's so funny.
When I was behind her the other day, I can't hear anything. First of all,
Crystal just learned this about Ted. That was her first experience with hunting with
yeah,
Ted.
and we're like crawling up. We're not really the main gunners. You and Whitney were the main gunners, and she's just like, "Should I get to that tree? Should I do this? Should I do that?" And I'm like,
Huh?
"Yeah, yeah." At first, I'm like, "What?" And then she's got to repeat everything, so that elevates her panic. And I'm just like, "Yeah, I think we're good to get to the tree." And then yesterday morning, we were sitting there, and you guys had crawled around on that turkey, and we were just kind of looping back to get on that other field in case they showed up, but we had plenty of time or whatever. And then they gobble, like, not that far from us, and she said, "Should I pull the hammer back?" And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Do I need to pull the hammer back?" And I'm like, "No, you're good." I said, "We're all right now." She's like, "You're going to have to coach me through this." I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "It's all right now. We're not really in the hot seat yet."
At that point, Whitney and I didn't even have the gun loaded. So.
He was closer to us.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. So on that one though, where we're moving in and he's coming towards us, Crystal starts asking me like, "Where do we go? Where should I go? What should I do next?" And I remember just saying as many times as I could, "We're all right. We have time." And I think that lesson for me took a lot of reps, and I think is maybe it'll never go away completely of that panic of like, we gotta go. But looking back on it, I went back to that spot yesterday to look for something that I thought I had dropped there, but also just to relive it and kind of confirm my thoughts. And I looked at it again and I thought, yeah, had we just took a deep breath in that moment instead of going forward, and that's what I talked about earlier, is I always have this tunnel vision of go forward. Turkey's there, go that way. Had we just taken that deep breath and looked to the left, it was really obvious that there was a better route that we could have been faster on, had more cover, and been more quiet on. Then got to a tree where we could have actually shot where he came to, but instead, because we went forward, we kind of buried ourselves in a thick spot, couldn't see much, made a lot of noise, and we were exposing ourselves constantly, and we just got to kind of the end of the road where we couldn't go any further. But had we just not panicked and went that direction to the left and then slid forward, the whole thing would have been super swift, really probably a pretty easy move, and I think we could have pulled it off. But instead, he got away because he got on our weak side, kind of, where it was super thick and we just didn't have a shot. But that's like a lesson learned, and tying this all back into perspective, it's like when you're younger, you got to just be okay, a younger hunter, you got to just be okay with making those mistakes. And then really look back and say, hey, what can I do different moving forward? And I think that's what really helps hunters improve in general. Try not to make an excuse. Try not to say, well, this is what happened and I couldn't pull it off. Say, okay, that is what happened. I couldn't pull it off. Why? And what can I do differently next time?
I'm going to do it better next time, and then walk in there and just absolutely run right over it. Do the exact same thing you just did.
But yeah, you're gonna for sure make the same mistakes over and over again. I mean, the one that I also have been talking about a lot in the last 6 months is the one that the buck I rattled in with Keith and had my bow behind me. I mean, forever. That would be the most bonehead mistake I made in probably a 5 or 10 year block, because I knew that. I mean, the one other example of that relates to what Dylan said was make sure you have cover. We learned the hard way when we were new into the still hunting game. We found this monster rub and scrape
Yeah,
on
we're just
it.
sitting there, sitting on the transition, I guess, kind of in the open, drooling over the sign that we're glassing up in front of us, and then all of a sudden the buck that's making it is just walking directly at us.
And we're kind of just like, no cover whatsoever. And you make that mistake, but then hopefully the next time, and we did. I mean, we did execute it in 2021.
Yeah.
We temp cover, man, and those little lessons can just go such a long way. And I don't know. This season has been a whole lot of reflecting on why those things are important to me. I can guarantee you that. Take the time to think about those things and appreciate the fact that you had the chance to learn it.
Mm-hmm. Right on.
Anything else to add, you guys?
Nah,
No?
I just farted.
Oh. Nick, do you have anything final to add from like your
Yeah,
perspective?
tell us about your first turkey tour. I was asking you about it last night, but
I
went
mean-
from hunting 5 times in the spring to
Yeah, you go from, which since I got out of the Marine Corps, when I was in college, I worked out my schedule where I was hunting progressively more than I ever had before. You know, growing up, it was you hunt for 5 to 7 days a year. It's for me because I had to travel 6 hours just to get somewhere to be able to turkey hunt. So, you're restricted to just 2 days out of a weekend or whatever. Anyways, so then I get out of the Marine Corps, I'm in college, and I'm hunting, and I hunt 19 days. And then the next year 24 days, and then 29 days, and then this year just kind of really blew all that out of the water and hunted way more than I ever have.
do you know how many days yet? Did you add it up?
Yeah, 56.
56.
Yeah,
This season you did?
Mm-hmm.
I knew Nick was fired up when we were going out to Kansas on like November 1st. And we're driving down the road trying to get to Kansas where we had seen all these big bucks. And he looks over at me and he goes, "So you've been thinking about where you want to turkey hunt this year?" And I'm like, "No, not at all,
November,
actually."
we're going to Kansas, actually.
He says, "What?" No, not even a little bit. It's like, oh, all right, well, when you do, let me know.
I'm talking about
Yeah,
it.
because I'm thinking about it right now.
That's good.
No, I mean, it was, first turkey tour was incredible. Everything about it,
Yeah.
from start to finish, the whole thing was awesome. Well, more than made up for those 4 years where I only hunted for 5 days in total.
Yeah, you got several years worth of hunting experience, I'd say, for most people.
Oh yeah, and I think that's a perspective that's important to appreciate too. Like that's what I'm saying when I talk about at least you went. That's what I'm talking about the most. Is I felt like this season the days I totaled are comparable to a lot of people's situation where they don't have as much time to commit to it, like weekends or whatever. We're talking. I probably truly hunted 6-7 days or whatever this season.
Probably more than your average turkey hunter still.
Yeah, and it felt like I had missed the season. I mean, to me, the 2023 season, as of right now, is the season that was missed. And I look back and it's still, as much as I did when I was playing baseball in the spring in high school,
Yeah.
And I just think that it's so easy to lose track of what's important, man. Like, that's what I keep coming back to. And I know that sounds cheesy and corny, but it takes something like this to have that.
I think
Switch.
probably as we've all gotten older, though, it's a lot easier to appreciate that, and especially just the people that we've probably met traveling around. It's like you find certain people that you're like, probably want to cut time out to hunt with every year, like a lot of those guys in Mississippi, and I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah, all your
more
friends
to
here,
people.
all my friends in Ohio,
Yeah.
your buddies in Iowa, Texas, went on. I don't even really know how to start with all the people that you would cross paths with along the way, and I think that
There's not enough days in the spring, man.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate how
Yeah.
short it is. I mean, there's people that I didn't get to this year, and I hate it, man. Like, it tears me up not to go hunt with them there and not go over here and hunt some over there. I mean, you just can't. You think, oh, I can swing by for a day or two, and then you actually get in the midst of doing the
And
whole.
your truck breaks down. You're
Yeah,
in California
I mean,
for a couple
Yeah,
weeks.
you burn 10 days in California, and it's just, man, time slips away really quickly. Even if you are on quote unquote schedule, it's just tough to make the stops. I mean, I've done it enough to know that, oh yeah, I'll swing through and see you when I'm up there.
I
Probably
might swing
not.
through.
Yeah, probably not.
Hopefully, I can swing through.
Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah.
I think the thing moving forward that I'm going to focus on because of having missed this and knowing that value of that is just make that time, because you may not get it. You may not get it in the future. I mean, a lot of things can happen. And I mean, it's maybe considered a dark thought, but
Well,
we're not
and-
guaranteed tomorrow, you know?
No,
So
no.
I just think that making that time, and I mean, something that happened this season was, I don't know, a month ago, I was Snapchatting you back and forth, like, are you going to be in Wisconsin? And you're like, yeah, but a couple weeks before I was going to get here. And then this whole last month, I thought, well, that sucks. I'm not going to get to hang out with Bruce. And I
All of a sudden, Bruce is coming back from Maine with a whole cooler full of lobster.
I get on Snapchat and see Jake's neighbors got a Snapchat of Bruce standing in the back of the truck with a bunch of lobster. And I literally was like, did he post that from, I double checked, did he post it from memories or whatever, from his camera roll?
Is Bruce really there?
Zach asks himself the question
He
while
got
his
emotional.
transmission is broke down. Is Bruce really there? And, realizing that you were, just icing on the cake, it's like, man, I'm going to get the full experience that I was hoping for.
Well,
I just-
and-
man.
I guess on one last thing on the perspective, I'll add something that I think has changed in my mind. Like, obviously, in the end, I mean, I'm looking to go pick a bird up in every state, and I'm closing in on that goal slowly but surely. And years ago, when I kind of first said, I think this would be something cool to do, it was go, rack up as many new states as you can. And this year I kind of got put in the position of, I was up in the Northeast and could have spent the whole last week of May up there in states that I haven't even killed a bird in. And the weather's actually really nice up there. I know there's birds there, would have gotten on them. Or I could leave and come back and hunt with some people that I really like to hunt with. And I know that we're going to,
I
We're
think you
just gonna
do a
be-
really good job of that. Like that's one thing I would worry about with guys that are trying to do that is it's like you're just rushing too much where you won't take the time to really enjoy it because it's like, all right, I got this one, not pressure's off there, now I can go to the next one. But you did the same thing last year where it's just like you could have went somewhere else, but the hunt was good, so you just stuck around.
the hunting's
hung
good, the
around.
company's good. And when
Yeah.
I look back in 20 years and look at what I was doing this time of the year, I promise you, I'm not going to regret sitting here and having a great time, as opposed to even if I had been sitting in New Hampshire with a gobbler by myself.
By
Like,
yourself.
don't get me wrong, I love the by myself hunts, and I do, but I've done it all year, and it's kind of nice to, almost like a home feel. I mean, it's kind of nice to be around camp and just have people to talk to and a place to bed down. A hot shower's always a plus. I mean, I'm not going to say civilization, but just some kind of everyday
Comforts.
comforts, that's
Yeah.
right. And that's the kind of stuff that you take for granted a little bit until you go plunging around turkey touring everywhere, and then, geez, last time you laid in an actual bed or had a roof over your head for the most part, I mean, other than your truck or your tent or something, it's just nice. And like I said, I won't look back in years and regret coming back here and hunting, even though, I mean, I've been here before, done all that. I mean, whatever. That's not the point. The point is like spending the time wisely and hunting with people you want to hunt with and making the memories, man. Because
You never
Time
know when you
flies.
might get struck by a rattlesnake, and
yeah.
maybe you can't get to the hospital on time.
Mm-hmm.
Good thing is around here, I don't think we have to worry about old rattlers.
Yeah, if you guys don't know that story, we did just an audio podcast with Bruce last year where he tells that story. So I don't know what number it is. Maybe I'll be able to drop some text somewhere. But yeah, that's a good one. Definitely an interesting story. And I like that you brought that up because that's something that has changed for me too. When I first started traveling, I was definitely more caught up in a checklist. And now as of even last year, I don't know if you guys know, but I shot one turkey last year. I shot 0 this year. But I think that alone tell you how much my perspective has changed. It's like, am I in a rush to do anything? Really? No, I just want these experiences. I just want to go be out there. And whether it's a good, bad, or ugly, situation when the turkey is either on the ground, flown away, or, I got to make another move, I'm gaining that experience, and that's what I value. And with people I like, better yet.
Mhm.
That's what's most important. I don't know. I like that what you said about, check the difference versus just going and getting another experience alone versus taking that time that you're not going to regret. Like,
No.
I mean, let's just fast forward 10, 20 years, whatever. I'm going to remember these moments, or being down in Mississippi and hunting with that, that first hunt of the season where you hunt with Thrash. You get to hang out with Chris. You get to hang out with, kids that are new hunters, stuff like that. You remember those things. The other hunts definitely are memorable.
We're going to be trying to keep up with Thrash's and Keith's kids.
Yeah.
Chris's kids.
And at some point, some of us are probably going to have kids that we're going to hunt with, and it's just like, I don't know. Those are the things that are starting to change for me, and I guess I'm starting to feel like less of a still bloodthirsty. I still love shooting stuff, don't get me wrong. You put a bedded buck out there, bugling bull, gobbling turkey, you give me a tag, son, we're going to be hunting, but still, it's like, I feel less about...
You see the more of a bigger picture now
less
than you
obsessed with just getting one and having that.
I think what changed my perspective the most was just slowly realizing how hard it is to make turkeys, and like also slowly seeing the downward trend of turkey numbers around here. And I mean, obviously almost everywhere it seems like. It's just like the timing of wanting to even shoot one around here, just because everything's so visual. It's like, he's got 8 hens and there's only one longbeard out there, and I know there's other ones around, but if you like on places where I know I'm about the only one that's going to be hunting, it's just let him do his thing, until he's got no hens out there, and then go
check on him in a week.
Yeah, and he's going to be a lot easier to deal with too during that time. But it's like,
believe it or not,
and been pressured, got no more hens. He's more than likely willing to come to the call.
Yeah, I think that's changed probably the most for me. Is just realizing. Just driving around here, especially 10 years ago or so when I really started to be able to turkey hunt all on my own, drive around and stuff like that. It's like there was a lot of them. So it's just like, turkeys must be easy to make, and they were making a lot more at that time, but it's just like slowly seeing everything trend downward has changed.
Yeah. Well, I also think as you get more confidence too, like you get more experience and you feel like you're executing more consistently, you are a little bit more okay to, put somebody with significantly less experience in the driver's seat, knowing that there's a high odds that mistakes are going to happen. Like, honestly, 3 or 4 years ago, that turkey that came right up past Whitney there, I'd have lost my shit. I'd have been so frustrated at that situation because they didn't kill that turkey. And it's like, now I am happy that it happened. And now I'm trying to look at it from her lens too. And I'm trying to think of all the different things that make that moment so challenging and what I've taken for granted. I used to not think that way. I'd only think my own situation. I'm trying to branch out from that too. Like, how does everybody else's experience add up to where, they have confidence in these sections, but maybe not these. And I think that's how it just helped me not only grow as a hunter, but just as a person even, and that's what's kind of cool about hunting is it's kind of like sports to me, where sports really help you learn life lessons. Hunting can too. And I feel like this whole perspective change that's happening and will hopefully continue to happen. Like, I don't want, when I'm 50, for it to look like it does now when I'm 30. I want it to continue to evolve and have different values and everything. So, I don't know. It's pretty fun. Kind of cool to look at it like that.
Yeah. No, I found myself thinking kind of the same exact thing you were thinking the other day when the turkey came up by you and Whitney. I mean, 5 years ago, I would have been like,
this is a waste of time.
Yeah, we ain't going to get another chance, all this and that. And, I mean, I was sitting back there calling, and when I heard the putt in my only, I was like, no, don't putt, keep gobbling. I don't care if they kill him, just don't putt and run off. Like, I want you to keep the same enthusiasm you've had for the past 2 hours.
Chances were pretty high, though, that regardless, we give him about 20, 30 minutes, he'd probably start doing it again.
I would imagine.
He was feeling pretty... He had his little section over there away from a lot of jakes. There's a lot of jakes. I think he had his little zone that he felt confident in. He was probably feeling pretty desperate at that point. I think we could have struck him back up again, but
I think
Jake got him.
he was down there in that little hole with that big wall behind him, so that maybe those jakes couldn't hear him as good. I don't know, but he was. If they would have come mobbing through there, there's no doubt he would have shut up. They would have run him all the way out of the county.
All right, guys. I think we can wrap up this perspective.
And that's
podcast.
perspective.
And that's perspective. And that's all that you need to know about the definition of perspective.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I learned something today.
All right. Well, we'll catch you on the next one, y'all.